Welcome to the Monday, February 1st, 2021, regular meeting of the Town of Easton Planning and Zoning Board. In keeping with the ongoing emergency order from Governor Charlie Baker to limit gatherings and maximize social distancing, and under legislation passed to address remote board meetings during the emergency, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards a quorum. The meeting will also be available on ECAT. To use Zoom, you can use the link on the agenda on the town's website. Excuse me. While conducting meetings remotely, we will endeavor to keep meeting operations as close to our standard procedures as possible. However, use of this platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocols. While board members and applicants will be on video and audio, public participants will join the webinar as an attendee, meaning they are muted with no video feed for them. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, members of the public can be recognized by using the raised hand function or the Q&A function on Zoom. If you are joining only by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. If an applicant wishes to display material, please make the request to the chair and email the materials to the board staff for sharing on screen. When starting testimony or asking questions, please state your name and address for the record. Board members are asked to announce themselves when making a motion and second, so that it will be clear to the audience and minute takers who made the motions. All votes will be made by roll call. So to ensure that we have a quorum, we will start with said roll call. Greg Strange here.
Shane here.
That's in here.
Anderson here.
Kellam here.
Okay, we got everybody, I think. Kind of cut out here. And so just, we'll start in a second with the 20 South Street, but just if anybody, I don't think anybody's here, but if anybody's here for 560 Foundry Street, Sawmill Village, we have received a request to continue to March 1. So we won't be discussing that tonight, just as an FYI. So,
Mr. Chair, I'm a voting member today. Am I a voting member today?
Let's see. Do we have any special?
Yes, you need a MOS.
Yes, you will be as a voting member, because if we vote, I'm not sure we'll be voting on Allen Road, but if we do, you can be. You are a voting member.
Same thing for motions.
Same. I'm sorry.
It's the same thing for motions. I cannot do motions unless I'm a voting member.
Okay. All right, so let me get back to where I was. So 20 South Street, we're going to continue the pre-application meeting following up on the site visit we had. Stephanie, can you call up Bill Humphreys? He's right there.
If
all right.
Bill and Frank could unmute themselves, and if you have video and want to turn it on, that would be great as well.
Okay. There I am.
Oh, could you
Can
turn
you
that
guys
on?
hear me? Can you hear me okay? Do you want me to unmute? Hey, Frank.
Welcome, gentlemen. Okay, so I guess so. You know, back a few weeks back, just for the public, so we held an initial pre-application meeting online here, at which time we scheduled a site walk, whose date escapes me, but a couple of weeks back, the members of the commission, along with the town planner, met out on site with the applicant and his reps and walked the site just to familiarize the site. There was no deliberation. Any questions that were asked were simply informational. It was a good opportunity for the board members to get out on site and look at the existing conditions and what was proposed. So, and I think, and Stephanie, feel free to fill in if I miss anything, but I think what we're hoping to do in this sort of informal pre-application, we call it, even though you've applied, but pre-application it was just to get any comments or any questions from the board resulting from the site walk or that have come up since we've last been together. And then, you know, I guess determine, you know, see if there's anything that any items we feel need to be addressed before you dig into a full, you know, engineering set of plans and come back with the full application or the full set of plans for the application. Did I say that right, Stephanie?
That's about it. Yes.
So why don't I start, I guess, with the board members. Did anybody, you know, we've all familiarized ourselves with the proposed plan and now we've been on site. Questions, comments, anything you want to discuss?
I have a question about the number of dwellings of this project because it's basic information for the design and it's not clear what the number should be. At least not according to what I have seen so far.
What do you mean? There's a site plan. What's not clear? I don't understand your question.
Or a flexible development and the allowances for density.
So Mr. Humphries, so you're proposing, you're proposing 20 lots, correct?
Yes.
And I know you provided us with a breakdown.
I did. You'll see in the breakdown that I
came up
did
with that.
14 lots.
I can
Like
show.
that.
Can you put that up on the screen for, I'm sorry, Bill. Why don't we put that up on the screen so Mas can take a look at it? Just so
No, I have seen it, but
Yeah.
what we have seen is the interpretation of Mr. Humphrey about what that number should be. I think we should take a look closer about the bylaws and see if that is the same thing we understand from the bylaws. There was a staff memo that note about the fractional numbers and how you round up. There is a transfer of a lot of lots that come from a different project, I think. I don't know if that is acceptable according to the bylaws. So there is also a roundup on the affordable units as well as on the transfer lot. So what is our answer about that? We maximize the numbers of units per that according to Mr. Humphrey's interpretation, or we have a different look at that?
Okay. Stephanie, you want to take that or you want me to take that?
Well, I'd like you to follow up. My
Okay.
recollection from the first meeting was that the board addressed that. And that was the question that I just wanted the board to confirm. The presumption was that when a multiplier results in a fractional number, the number should be rounded up. And I believe that was confirmed by the board at the last meeting.
I don't recall that, but if I look at the bylaws, it says that needs to be more than 0.4%, and 1.4 is not, it's equal. It's not more than 0.4. So it can be interpreted one way or the other. It's exactly on the limit according to the bylaws as written.
Well, okay. So let's go back to this then, because I know some members are new. Some of us have more familiarity with this. And I didn't anticipate, so give me a second. Let me try to find this right here, because it's actually called out right in the bylaw. Design process, lot lines, modification. Okay, so basic number of dwelling units. Okay, let's start there. And you can see what Stephanie has up. I think there was a breakdown that Mr. Humphries had provided us.
Yes, I'm trying
so
to
the
figure
base-
out if I can easily put them side by side, but
So I'm just going to read from the bylaw, Amma. So it says the basic maximum number of dwelling units allowed in a flexible development shall not exceed the number of lots which could be expected to be developed on the site using conventional subdivision zoning. So in this case, and now I have to keep, I didn't anticipate going back to this on. So in this case,
I'm good.
oh, All right.
Do you want me to leave that up or?
Well, you know what, I gotta exit, it just blocked my whole screen. So, so if I recall, so I'm gonna do it by memory. I can't. So Mr. Humphreys' conventional plan shows 14 lots, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I was.
And as I recall, I think we pointed out he actually could have 15, but there was a whole discussion. He wasn't looking to max it out. So we'll go with the 14 lots. Then, so that is, so in any of the computing the number of units allowed, so that's the basic maximum number. That's sort of the baseline. In this case, the 14. Little asterisk there because he could show it 15, but we'll go with 14. Then okay. All right, so that's, okay. So then next time, I'm just gonna read, right, so that's G in the bylaws. Now H, density bonus, transfer lot. For each transfer lot, as defined in Article 11, up to 2 dwelling units may be added as a density bonus, provided, however, that this density bonus shall not exceed 20% of the maximum number of dwelling units. So I know in this proposal, Mr. Humphreys is looking to have get a bonus of 2 units for land that he has transferred. And that is under, we'll leave that up to the board for another discussion, but that the 2 units is under 20% of the basic, or it's equal, 20% of 14 would be 2.8. He's looking for 2 lots. So that, if accepted by this board, that meets that criteria. Additional open space. For an increase in the amount of required contiguous open space of more than 15%, because we know 15%, excuse me, up to 2 dwelling units may be added, provided that this bonus does not exceed 10% of the basic maximum dwelling units. So he's looking for 1 additional unit that way, and that doesn't exceed the 10%, or is he looking for 2 and 10% is 1.4, and that's where we round up to 1.4, because we round up at 0.4 as called out in the bylaw, which I'll get to. I'm just reading this in order. And then any award of density bonus shall not increase the dwelling units by more than 30% of the maximum units. And then the affordable component. Here we go. So if we look in I, affordable component, as a condition of the grant of any special permit for a flexible development, a minimum of 10% of the basic number of dwelling units without inclusion of any density bonus shall be restricted in perpetuity, et cetera, et cetera. The affordable units shall be added to the basic maximum number of dwelling units, not subtracted from it. Any calculation resulting in a fractional unit of more than 0.4 shall be rounded up. So in this case, 14 units times 10, 1.4, 2 units. And it has been on our 2 previous flexible developments that were approved by this board, based on the wording in this bylaw, it has been understood and agreed by staff and by town council when this question came up a couple of years ago, that that 0.4 is the roundup number of, to be used on all calculations, since it's stated for the affordable. So, so I guess.
Greg, we're missing one other item too that I'm doing. Not only did I not go for the 15 lots, but also the historical value of this also.
Right. But I'm just talking. I'm just trying to answer Amas's question right now.
Okay.
So, and I know this came up at the meeting last time, and we talked about it, and I gave a more concise, pithier answer because I was prepared, but I did the best I could with my COVID split screen here. So does that help at all, Amas? Do you have questions?
Yeah. So on the affordable component, it would be 1.4, but you round the number of units to 2, and that means that it's 2 units added total.
Correct.
That will actually make the affordable component more than 10%.
Yes. Yeah. It makes it.
That's actually a benefit to the town.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's, see, Amasa, originally, before we had flexible development, one of the, we used to have, we had these open space residential developments and residential compounds. And in those, the affordable component was required to be 20%. In fact, and then back about 10 years ago, during the time of one of Stephanie's predecessors, they came up with the idea to have all special permit projects require 20% affordable inclusionary zoning. And that, as many of us on the board suspected, that was going to kind of stop all that, because it just doesn't, it's hard to, most of the projects we see are 5 lots, 10 lots, it's hard to, it's really hard for a developer to do 20% affordable units. So that's why when we worked to do the recodification 4 years ago with Mark Bobrowski and a bunch of folks in town, one of the first things we brought up was this, and Mark said, yeah, that nobody does it 20%, it doesn't work. And that's why we went to the 10%, and we've had great success with that. I think we've permitted 3 projects so far with that, with the caveat of rounding up at 0.4, because that's the benefit, for the town. So anyway, so it's just a quick, that was sort of the genesis of all that. So I hope that was a little helpful for you.
Yeah, the only one that doesn't make the math so much is the additional open space, 15%, should not exceed 10%. And 10% is 1.4, and we are going for 2. So correct. We are rounding that up too as well. And yeah, that is something that is not in the bylaws, that you can round it up. It's something we need to approve.
Well, the 1.4, it's in the bylaw. I read it.
No, but not the 2. He's asking for 2. That is rounding up.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I just don't understand. But so as long as you're good with it. So I see there's a raised hand. So we have a question from Kathy. Was the number of conventional lots confirmed on a site plan post wetlands delineation? Yes, it was. And at some point we can bring that plan up and show you.
Hold on. I'm trying to get there. It's just right. Actually, that's the.
So anyway, so while Stephanie does that, so to the board, we know we know what Mr. Humphries is proposing. We've been out on site. Again, I'm just trying to see if we are in the place where we can say, okay, we're not approving it. Obviously, we don't have the final setup with us, but for him to go ahead and get into the engineering, the more detailed engineering of the site, so that we can do the. So it can be thrown out to peer review, so that we can do the what's the staff review, Stephanie?
Design review team.
Design. Thank you. I'm blanking on that. So just that this is I guess at this point, just if there's any any concerns or questions. This is.
Well, I mean, initially I had some concerns just about the values and property values and things of that nature, but I have to say, being out there and seeing the space and how really this neighborhood will be kind of protected by a lot of the trees, that alleviated a lot of my concerns. Being out there and physically walking the site was really helpful to me.
My only concern is the density. It seems that a lot of lots for that area, but it might be okay. It's depend how this is designed. So when we have the design, we'll and the difference between 20 or 18 is not that big. I think not sure, Greg. You probably have more experience with that. Again, the additional open space added 2 instead of 1.5 or 1. We rounded that up. And the transfer lot, I have that question. Can you transfer lot from a total different project or program into this and be counted as transfer of lot?
Yes, that's actually the intention of the bylaw. As you know, in fact, late, no, not tonight, but often we look at plans where there's a large parcel of land that seems to have an island of uplands, if you will, surrounded by quite a bit of wetlands. But using our bylaw, it is possible to access and develop it. And the thought is, behind the larger, the better, more larger chunks of open space you can preserve, it'll function more like open space, for animal, biological reasons, plant reasons.
Yeah, so maybe, being a special permit, maybe we have to look at, how the benefits of this special permit application, might, validate those additional 30%, lots, right? So, and, the neighbors will weigh in, will consider, their input and how they feel it will affect the neighborhood. And we'll be able to make a better determination. We can't decide now whether this is the perfect, presentation as is, since we haven't really even talked to the neighbors really in much detail. So that's why this is preliminary, right? So Amos has a great point there, and we have a lot more work to do on this before before we make our decision. Really, that's all.
Right, can I just add one point to this, if I may?
Sure.
I've been working with you guys to create this project, and so what I've done is to go forward is reading it in the bylaw that if I give land to the town, that I can use it towards a subdivision. So I went and did that, and now to say, just to throw this out there, to say that I can't do that, I can't get my land back. The town now owns my property. You see what I'm saying? I just did this to create this subdivision. I'm doing that, and it says I can give land to do this, to create it. So I did that, and I just gave the land to the town to create this. Now it goes to planning stages, and to say that I can't do that now, I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but if you do it, that's in the bylaw to do that. That's what I did.
Yeah, Greg, if I could jump in there, because I did get a little bit concerned when I was hearing that. I don't think that the bylaw says the board has to determine that the open space meets particular values. Although this is the land, and we can look at it more.
Hold on. I'm not negative this project, but I'm saying we're going to make a determination whether or not the special permit is suitable for this project.
I see.
So we'll take all the information into consideration. That's how we're supposed to approach the project. It's not that I have a negative feeling about the project. It's just that's where we are. So I mean, just to Marcel's point that it is a larger increase in lots, and we hadn't really. I don't recall a meeting where we had a input whether a donation of other land was a good thing for this project. So I'm not trying to sound as if I'm not trying to create an opinion where everybody has to sort of reply to me. That's just what it is. I mean, it's a project that we have to consider and approve.
Well, that's true of any special permit project. And I don't think we should get too caught in the weeds tonight, because this is a preliminary. I just want to see if we're ready to send him on his way to do some engineering. The summary of this, first of all, this committee, this board, the planning board, wrote, approved, and advocated to the town flexible development. That doesn't mean every development has to be a flexible development, but we're the ones who came up with this. We're the ones who came up with the lot transfer bonus. We're the ones who came up with the affordability component. We're the one, and under a special permit, how many times have we talked? We said, okay, what we know in return for increased density and in return for lower road construction cost for the developer, what does the town get? And that varies. As you know, we look at each piece separately because no two pieces of land are alike. You look at the two flexible developments that have been approved and compared to this, they have very different criteria, very different characteristics. I would say, looking at this the way it's proposed right now, benefits to the town are a diversified housing type. And by that, just not mega mansions, houses, still valuable houses that exceed significantly the values of the existing neighborhood, but are in much but are lower than, $1.5 million, so that younger families or empty nesters, can get in it. We get architectural approval so that we can help preserve this fantastic neighborhood of historical and properly scaled homes. An increase of open space. As I've said this before, if this piece of land was developed as a 15 lot or a 14 lot conventional subdivision, there wouldn't be a tree left standing on it because every single inch of it would be developed. And by the time, because of water tables and all the other, so this allows us to not only, kind of hand select trees that would like picked out, would like saved around the existing road, we get to keep a substantial amount of open space. Then there's one of the first things when Mr. Humphreys, even before he came to us, even before Stephanie or I had ever gotten a call on this, I received probably 7 or 8 calls from folks in town on the Historical Commission and on the Historical Society saying, please say, we need to save the Belcher House, very important. And I have full disclosure, I'm on the Historical Commission. I didn't even know about the Belcher House. I live a mile from here. We've all seen it now. We see, wow, that preserving that house goes quite a bit away of creating nice characteristic in this neighborhood. So I'm not going to push for this project tonight. That's not my job. But having been involved in this and having talked to many of the abutters who have contacted me many times over the last year, and we had discussions at public meetings going back to the zoning, and people stopping by my house for conversations. I have told them, I said, and I told the neighborhood group back when we were working on the Furnace Village zoning, back while Stephanie was away from us, that I said, someday this parcel will sell. And I said, and I would push to have it. I mean, it'd be great. Wouldn't it be fantastic if we would just keep it as open space? I said, I remember I made a joke. I said, so you guys should go ahead and purchase it, but that's, land's expensive. But this flexible development it makes us flexible. It gives us the ability to sort of collaborate with a landowner and to try to create a project that meets the objectives of the town of Easton as spelled out in the many, the master plan and the many other plans that we've done. And I think we've worked towards that. Now, right, when we get the final set of plans and we look at it, right, there'll be more in-depth conversations about, lot transfer bonus and that's about the only ambiguous one. The open space is the open space. The affordable units are the affordable units. And it is important to remember through all this that, if looking at that conventional plan, easily one more lot could be had. It could be that starts to change the numbers, even more. And Mr. Humphreys has told Stephanie and I, and he's probably told us this board, we've had so many conversations on this, he wasn't looking to tap this out. He's looking to create a special project that fits into the neighborhood more than a conventional project would. And yes, there's 4, 5, 6 more lots than you'd get conventionally, but in return, don't forget, there's 2 affordable units that go to the town. There's a house that was preserved that wouldn't have been preserved any other way, because preserving historic homes is extremely expensive. And so that's what this project, that's why we're doing this. This isn't just about a developer coming in looking to get extra lots. There's quite a bit, if done properly by this board, there's quite a bit that the town will get out of this too. And by the town, I mean the residents. So that's what flexible development's about. It was spearheaded by this board. It doesn't mean that the new members have to agree with it, but that's the history of it. And it's all backed up by the plans and the conversations that we've had with hundreds and thousands, really, of residents in town over the past decade. And anyway, so that's that. So let's
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, I totally support this project. I like it. We should go and work together to see this going through successfully. That doesn't mean that I need to agree with the density, and I have concerns about that. That's all I brought up. And repeating what you just said now, that you said the same thing last time, it's not needed. We all support and want to see this through. when the plans come, and if we need to look at that, we need to see if we need to agree for the maximization of the number of units on this project. That is what the developer wants. And we need to probably get a compromise on that if we think that's what needs to be done for this project to be successful.
Greg, can I just say one thing?
Absolutely.
I'm confused as to, again, what the board has to agree on, because the calculations that were made based on the number of base maximum units you could get under the conventional, it's a matter of math. The only question was on the 1.4, and that seems to have been resolved by the board. So I think the number of units, and I think that that's a level of surety that the applicant needs to be able to proceed and start with his engineering work.
That is 20, right, Mr. Chair?
If I could just say, I responded the way I did because you're questioning the density, and I guess maybe I should have tried to be. Flexible development is an increase in density. It just is. Look at the math. It is. I was just trying to point out what's in it for the town for the increased density. I'm not saying you have to agree with it. And you were, and in fairness to you, you weren't on the board when this was written. But this was not, the board going. This was backed up by many residents in town, employees of the town, residents of the town, volunteers in the town that participated in writing these. It was, refined.
Mr. Chair, is the number 20 okay? That's the question. 20 units, is that okay?
Again, I think that it goes back to the equation and what's allowed, that number is allowed by the bylaw.
Okay, that was my question.
Okay, so Kathy online, and Kathy, please give your last name from now on with an address so we can get you on the record. And we have two questions. One says, given the amount of construction that our neighborhood has been subject to, the solar project and the 40 plus units in Sawmill, which construction hasn't started, is there some reason why the board wants to maximize up to 2 units? Okay, well, regardless of what's, construction that anybody's put up with, any landowner has land rights as spelled out in our bylaws. I think is probably the best way to answer that. Second question, I don't think the conventional plan shown on the screen does not show the wetlands. It doesn't. So Stephanie, why don't you show the plan that shows the wetlands? Now, the wetlands were delineated after this.
Yeah, I think it's but again, this is the conventional.
Right. So, so Stephanie, you can back me up on this.
Yep.
You and I, as people who know how to know these plans, are familiar with them. The wetlands that have been delineated, and there is a plan, do not affect any of the units. Do not eliminate any buildable units on the conventional plan.
This is the wetland right here. This little blue line down here.
Tiny little, less than 100 square feet, I think. So Kathy, when you think of, you put their wetlands there are administered by buffer zones, certain things that can and can happen within certain buffer zones. When you apply those buffer zones, which aren't handled by this board, that's Conservation Commission, and you need 40,000 contiguous square feet of uplands for a lot. So there was virtually no effect of the wetlands on this subdivision.
Right, and to be clear, the buffer zone is not wetland resource. The buffer zone is the buffer. So the buffer zone doesn't detract from the contiguous upland area. It's part of the contiguous upland area on the lot.
So, okay, let's, board members, so are we all set to give Mr. Humphries okay to go and start working on his engineering? That's not approving this, doesn't approve the subdivision, just, do we have any, I want to get back to, I was trying to get it, because if there's any anything we need to relate to him that we'd like to see different from what he was intending was where I was trying to go with all this.
Greg, one of the things that we talked, that was pointed out on the site walk, and was just that there were some trees that everyone felt should be preserved in the, I believe it was the northern portion of the site, but at some point, those should be identified and marked.
Mhm.
Yeah, we had conversations about that, and any trees in fact, at the site walk, remember someone, Bill had brought up, and Frank had said, geez, it's going to be difficult to locate every tree. And I said, no. I said, you're not looking for every tree. Just once you stake your road, obviously the trees that are in the middle of the road, have to go. The trees that are going to be affected by grading, have to go. But other than that, the substantial trees, which, they're spaced out there, if we could represent that are in the vicinity of the roadway, that can be saved, let's represent their locations on paper so that we could make that part of the final plan.
This is sewer here too, guys. Remember, we're going to be saving,
Right,
with the sewer, we're going to be saving a lot more than a typical subdivision, because all we're doing is running a 6-inch pipe out to the street. We're not putting in a holding tank and a 20 by 40 septic field with a 5-foot dig around and all that stuff. So we can save we can do a nice job here.
Right.
That's why I'd like to once we get in there and get the road cut, I want to put in property lines so you guys can see it, and locate houses and stuff, and we can get into saving this stuff. But what we want to go forward with, me and with Rybland Engineering, Rybland Surveying, is we want to get out there and do where the drainage basin is going behind lot number 4 and 5. We want to get out there and do some test pits out there so we can start designing the drainage here, because that's our next step, is starting to do the drainage and laying out the road, etc. and the utilities. And this just came up just the other day, just for the board to know this, because it is important. I just purchased a lot in the town of Easton last week. I paid for, this is a lot, I just paid $430,000 for a house lot in Easton. So what I'm creating here is, do I put in conventional lots and, like you were saying, Greg, build mega mansions? Because realistically, the numbers are looking pretty good. But that's not what I'm trying to create here. I've been in town for 35 years building. I'm trying to create something here that the town needs. And to do that with the 20 lots, I can do this. It's, to build affordable housing, etc. It's not only am I doing the affordable housing, the 2 lots, but I'm trying to make the houses affordable also. That's what people aren't understanding, it seems like. I'm going to do a subdivision here with houses that are only, 1,800 to 2,300 square feet. There's nothing in town like this, and there probably never will be. This is going to be something we got to be very proud of that happens here.
Mr. Chair, I can have a question for Bill. If you were to decrease the density by 1 or 2 units, that will not change much of the, and it will give this property maybe a little more leeway for certain other things.
The numbers don't work. That's the problem. Because if I would go, if that was the case, I'd go for 15 lots. And if I'm getting 400 plus a lot, the numbers don't work. That's the problem. Okay. The numbers have to work. They have to work. If they don't work, then I have to go with a different decision. And that's why I'm trying to create this, to get the 20 lots if the numbers work.
Okay, that's what works. That's what worked for you.
The numbers work. The numbers work for the road costs, etc. And the to create what I'm creating, the numbers work. Because 2 lots in the town of Easton, if you think about it, Form A lot, subdivision lots, and right now I just paid 430. Another one just sold for 550. So these are house lots. So
what
the numbers.
You just confirming that in order for this to go successful, you need this number of lots.
I need
to make sure that that you can pay for all the things that.
Well, the
needs to
reason
be
why
done.
is too, is because the affordables, you lose money on them. So the more I take away, then I'm losing even more money because the affordable lots, the two that I have to do, I lose money. So if I
Okay.
can't make it up on the other end on where I can make money, it doesn't work for me. Because every time you take one away that I can make a profit on, that even makes the affordables even more costly.
Okay. I have another technical question. Would you say that you are going to set the road first? You mean mark it on the property or actually going and working the road into the property already?
I'm sorry, say again, please. I'm sorry. I didn't understand.
You say that one of the first things you need to do is to mark that road on the property. Is that
Yes.
marking it with stakes or is actually working the
Center line. Marking,
Center
so
line.
first thing you would do is, would go out and do the test holes for the drainage, where we have the drainage basin going. And then what we would do is mark the center line at every station. Frank, what do they go, every 50?
Usually every 50 for clearing purposes. And
Yeah,
rough
every
grading.
50 you would do a center line of the road. And then what you do is you ribbon off of that what you need to clear for the road and for the utilities.
And in that point, you start marking what you want to preserve for trees or other items, or you
What
do
we
it
would do
before
is
that?
we would cut the road. Once we cut the road and we can get in there where Frank can use his instruments and see clearly, we would mark the property lines and then we can mark the tree. Yeah, right. As soon as we cut the road, we can mark the property lines and mark the trees. Yes.
So the road will go through trees if we want to conserve them, and you will not move this significantly.
The road has to go. The road's not a big cut. The road has to go where the road has to go. But realistically, you can't have a road have an illegal turn to it. It has to be a soft turn. You can't, to save a tree, you can't turn the road 90 degree. So you're sort of limited where the road has to go. That's why you have to do the road first. But the road is only going to be, Frank, what's the cut on the road?
It's a 42-foot wide
42
layout.
foot wide, yeah, 42 feet. And the width of this property is how many feet, Frank?
You're roughly looking at about 600 feet across.
Yeah, so 600 feet and you're cutting 42 feet through. It's really, it's just doing it so you can get the road in, so then you can start locating it.
Okay, so you cut the road and then you start marking significant elements.
Yep.
Okay, that's the process.
The nice thing is, as you guys know, you were all there, it's heavily treed. And the trees that are there, when you start clearing, they're just going to do better. You know, obviously you got to get the dead wood out and all that, but it's more sunlight you get in there, the better you're going to do. Any subdivision you've seen me do in town with the trees I put in too. Not only that, I'm going to put trees in there. You've seen some of the subdivisions I've put in the town of Easton. Go into Lexington Estates. The trees are 40 feet tall.
So I'm going to jump in here, guys, just because we have a big agenda tonight.
Yeah.
And we've got plenty more meetings on us. You can ask all sorts of questions, but let's save the technical questions till we have the technical plans in front of us.
Okay.
And so any other board members, anything else we want to mention to Mr. Humphries before we send him on his way? Stephanie, do you have anything?
No.
So I think at this point, right, we will ask you, start working on, maybe you're working on your engineering already, I don't know, but what we'd want to do, kind of coinciding when you come back, or right before you come back to planning board, is do a design review team meeting with the town hall staff, Stephanie and myself.
Okay.
And so just keep that in mind, obviously, and then we will, then we'll have our full public hearings and continue our deliberations on this project.
We've got real good weather to start it too right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks nice out there. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for coming
Thanks,
in.
guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Sorry to take up so much time, guys.
That's okay. It's all
Okay.
good. It's all
Thank
public
you.
process. But I just, knowing that we don't even have the full set, I just don't want to get too technical yet.
No, I understand.
So, all right.
Thanks,
great.
guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Let me pull my agenda back here. So next
Gonna stop sharing.
we have, where'd my agenda go?
So before we get to Deer Meadow, you should vote on continuing 560 Foundry.
There's my agenda. Yeah, so we need a motion to continue Sawmill 560 Foundry to March 1st, 2021.
Motion to continue 560 Foundry Street subdivision and special permit to March 1st.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, Strange eye.
Shane, aye.
Anderson, I.
That's
Then am I.
That's an aye.
Right, that's unanimous. Great, all right.
I'm trying to get.
Peter, you must have something to read.
I do. It's right on my phone right here. You ready?
Yeah, so this is for, go ahead, your notice will tell us what it's.
Yes. Yeah, so it's Town of Easton Notice of Public Hearing. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 41, Section 81-T MGL, the Easton Planning and Zoning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, February 1st, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. to be held remotely on the application received from Robert C. and Joanne Carroll for a special permit estate lot under Easton Town Code, Chapter 235, zoning 235-43 estate lot, to allow the creation of an estate lot at 15 Deer Meadow and 49 Allen Road, Assessors Map 3R, Lot 180 and Lot 293. This meeting will be conducted remotely via Zoom. The virtual meeting link will be contained within the proposed agenda at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. A copy of the application and plan may be viewed on the town website. This notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org. Gregory Strange, Chair.
Thank you, sir. All right, so do we have someone representing this project, Stephanie?
Yes, Luke Klim is on. Luke, you need to unmute yourself.
There you go.
Good evening, sir.
How are we doing?
So at some point, I'll ask you to identify yourself for the record, and then are you going to be sharing a screen, or how are we going to present this?
I can do that if you want.
Stephanie, what did you want to do?
Well, I wanted to give an explanation first because I had produced and published my staff report last week, and we made Mr. Klim aware that it was available. There were several deficiencies in the application. There were no contours shown on the plan. So it was not possible to confirm the drainage pattern was not going to be interrupted by the establishment of the estate lot. There, while they had shown a general building envelope, it did not show setbacks, and the wetland lines were only shown with a DEP GIS overlay, which is not an accurate depiction. So today we received a follow-up letter. We received a report from the wetland scientist, and we received revised plans. So Luke, do you have the revised plans? That's what you're going to do?
Yeah, I can share those if you want.
Yep. That way I can just compare it to my report. But I wanted to make that note because what you'll be seeing is different. I did have a chance to review everything just before the meeting, but the board would not have seen the revised plans and materials. So, Luke, you can go ahead and share the screen.
All right, how's that look? Can everyone see that?
I can see it.
All right. So, for the record, my name is Lucas Klim from Klim Land Surveying, representing Robert and Joanne Carroll on this project here. What you have before you is 15 Deer Meadow and 49 Allen Road, two of the 3 or 4 parcels that Mr. Carroll recently picked up. What he is proposing to do is reconfigure these two lots and create an A&R lot, which is lot 2 on this plan, and an estate lot, which is lot 3 on this plan, which will be accessed from the end of Deer Meadow, which is a public road for most of the way. And then the cul-de-sac, for some strange reason, back when the road was accepted, was kept as private. So the intention here is to put a house on lot 1, a house on the estate lot, and a house on lot 3, which I can share another plan that I produced that'll show some driveways and has topography and such on it. The proposed, actually, let me go back to that. So we did have the botanist go back out, and we went out and survey located these flags, which are shown on this revised plan here. Due to the location of those plans, I ended up revising the estate lot and going with the minimum 40 feet wide at Allen Road, and then opened it back up strictly for the, so that we would have some upland access for this A&R lot. We have zero intentions of actually going through this upland here to access these lots in the back. We're going to put driveways in on both sides of lot 1 to access these large building upland areas. If you want, I can share that. Oh, no, I can share that other plan as well, if that works for you, and we can go over that.
Can I, just while you're on this plan,
Yep.
if you don't mind, I'm curious how, are those, you showed the building area,
Yep.
but are those setbacks look tiny? These lots
Well,
aren't that large.
Those, no, that's just a 200 by 200 square. I put the setbacks on the other lot, on the other plan, just so you could see. But those are, that's 40,000 acres, 40,000 square feet inside that box right there. So those are large lots. We
So
have,
you're saying that, but you know, that's not a 25-foot front setback. It seems to be equivalent what's on the side, which is 15. That's what I'm kind of.
yeah, it's like I said, I just squeezed the
Can you
200.
show the plan? Would you show the plan with the setbacks shown?
Will do.
But we have a plan here that shows these, so this would need to be corrected. We can't.
Those aren't setbacks. That's just a building square. One of the
Right,
requirements.
but setbacks control where the buildings go.
So let me share this one. Did this share?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So here's
Yeah,
where.
that looks more.
Yep. I wasn't sure if that is a front yard, but I did a 25-foot front yard off of that. And the 15's off of here. And technically there isn't a rear back here, but you know, as you can see, this is more what the house would look like, what the driveways would look like. The topography out there is very flat. So any proposed driveway is just going to copy the existing grade that's there. I kind of made a note to that off to the side here. The driveways will be fairly long, so I did incorporate all of the fire department notes that Stephanie had given me in regards to turnarounds, fire suppression. All of those things are kind of shown on this plan here. But this is more as far as site planning in the future, what we're looking to do with this property. So I can answer any questions you might have.
Okay, Stephanie, you want to go first?
Sure. So again, Luke did provide a report from Brad Holmes, and my initial concern after seeing the revised wetland line, which I feel probably is very accurate. It has not been confirmed in the field by our environmental scientists. There was not an ANRAD filed with the Conservation Commission, but there appears to be plenty of contiguous upland to comply with the zoning bylaw. My concern was whether there were wetlands up in this, yes, Luke, in this area. And it appears from the report that Mr. Holmes did a comprehensive exploration of the site. As was indicated, the setbacks are shown on this secondary detailed plan, which is not really the A&R plan. Then let's see, the driveways, let's see the setbacks. I did just have a comment, and I think that what Mr. Lim is doing here, trying to show what the setbacks would look like and what you have, but the driveways and turnaround areas, the footprint is almost larger than, or if not larger than the house footprints. But again, I assume that they're just showing a general footprint there. I would concur that the topography is flat, and if they follow that grade in constructing the driveways, it should not interrupt the drainage flow.
Is there a reason there can't be a single proposed access and utility easement that would serve both the lots?
You could, but then you'd actually have to give an easement. The second one would have to give an easement to this
You already
one
have
too.
easements anyways, right? It just seems like it would just be cleaner and maybe just, I'm not sure, maybe just less road on both lots.
We did talk about that, and we're not opposed to it, but we just figured, whereas you got to run the utilities and then you'd have to run them over to this house either way. So you're kind of running this way and this way. Having people have their own kind of made sense to us in that regard.
Yeah, it's just an idea. I'm not pushing it right now. I don't know that.
Peter, I'm flashing back when I look at these lot lines. Boy,
Yeah.
I sure wish my proposal wasn't shut down all those years ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's my only other comment would be that, you know, these are really odd shaped lots. And Luke made the comment that, well, gee, I don't know if these really would be considered front yards, but they're certainly front yards to the abutters.
Hey, excuse me just for a second, Stephanie. I just got a text from Chris Anderson. He needs to jump off for 15 minutes.
Yep.
There's no reason, right? We have enough to vote on special permit if need be, correct?
You have four.
It'd have to be a super majority.
Yes, you
We
have
four. But if he's got an emergency, he's got to handle it. So it is what it is. So
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
all right. So all right. So anyways, okay. Board members, any other questions or comments?
Question for Stephanie and you, Chair. Do you see any discrepancy, variances, anything that exceptional that will need to be discussed about these lots? I can't figure it out.
No. I mean, they comply with the bylaw. Again, they're very odd shaped to get the frontage because you can't get one. You couldn't create these two lots with the frontage along. What is the road?
Allen Road.
Allen Road, right? Allen Road.
Okay. So
and you know they can't provide access because there are wetlands there. I think you could provide access to one lot, but then you'd have this great big long driveway. So that's why they're bringing the access to these portions of the lot off Deer Meadow. But again, they appear to comply with the bylaw.
it's interesting. Where the end of this road is a private way, they could have done a flexible development.
Yeah. My client did.
But we got this
look
gem
into all that.
instead.
We
So-
did look into that, but the property is beautiful out there. So we're looking to preserve about 11 of the 15 acres and just put.
Well,
the
your
two
driveways are
extras.
going to take down 6 of them, so I don't know how that's going to happen.
No, that's only 4 acres all the way up to that.
I have
conservation
two concerns. One is just on that plan. Look at building envelope. That means a building can go there. So I need that Form A corrected because those are not setbacks, and I'm absolutely, as the chair of this committee, going to interpret that front lot line as a front lot line.
Okay.
Because that all has to do with how it abuts to neighbors' properties, and that dovetails into my second point. You found a loophole in the bylaw. I'm not saying you worked it out. I get it. There's different ways to salute this. This reminds me of another property we had in town, which infuriated me years ago. This one isn't as bad because it's larger, but they were basically rainbow lot lines. And I sometimes when things are gerrymandered, and I'm not saying this is, but one of our charges as the planning board under special permits is preserving Easton's rural character. And that's easier said, that's easier done on some properties than others. This certainly is a rural site. In fact, your team markets it as a rural site, almost an extension of borderland. My concern, so here we are with all of this ruralness. But then by the time these giant driveways go in, and I understand why you put, I mean, I don't, we're not under the purview of anything that happens in a building, and I've always pushed against having requirements for sprinklers on our plans because we don't handle it inside of buildings. But I get why you cut and pasted the text. And then these giant driveways. But when realistically, when we look at this and we know there's septic systems going in, these lots might be clear cut when all is said and done. Like, who knows what these are? Obviously identical. I'm sure you're not doing 3 identical houses. You may have a giant house in here. I don't know. But my concern is someone's going to go and have all this ruralness, and then there's 2 houses right in their backyard. Which, okay, yeah, they're whatever. They're 400 feet apart or 200 feet apart. But take all those trees down, and you know how that human scale goes. It gets awful closer. So I'm wondering if it would be unreasonable for me to request sort of what's in the back of this property, which I guess maybe comes from borderland, sort of a no-touch zone, you know, a buffer of trees between these. Because it just seems you're going to have these giant lots and you're out in this rural area, you know, the Ames Gateway subdivision, or whatever you call this, that there should be a little ruralness preserved between these houses so that someone doesn't walk in their backyard and there's 2 front yards right in their backyard. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you mean between the houses? I thought you meant in the project in general.
No, front and back, front and back.
Yeah,
between like the back of lot 1 and the fronts of lot 3 and lot 2, or the fronts of the portion that abut lot 1.
So kind of in here in this area. Yeah. And then
and granted, I understand the second people live there, they can cut those trees down because it's their land. We're not gonna, but again, this is just, you know, it's just hard. You know, sometimes engineering solutions don't always meet the intent of the bylaw, but doesn't mean we can stop you from doing it. But this is a special permit.
Yeah, I think our intent here was, you know, we are preserving 12 of the 15 acres here. So
well, I'm just talking between the houses.
Between the houses. Okay.
I'm just saying, I can't, it's a pet peeve of mine when I drive into a subdivision and there's a house right behind a house. You know, you can, to your point, there's 12 acres out here, there's 16 acres, but you have to have houses stacked behind each other. I don't think that's not an ideal neighborhood situation.
Yeah, I ended up having to make I made those driveways so big because of the fire department, you know, turnaround requirement. That's why they look so big on there. But, you know, that's kind of their requirements. Well, we might be able to look into changing those, but I don't think my client would be opposed to putting some sort of, you know, buffer at the either.
Well, I mean, because you've got two right of ways, so that doubles the amount of trees you're taking down. There's going to be, you know, you talk about saving all this stuff, but these 3 lots are going to be clear cut by the time you put septic in. So I'm just trying to get an island of trees in between. Who knows? Maybe there are no trees there. I don't know, but I just don't.
That's wooded.
It might be a decent idea to do something like that. Kind of a nod to the rural site that this is.
I don't think they would be opposed to, you know, creating some sort of thing here, some sort of buffer, or I don't know how we want to word it, but
yeah, like a no touch, you know, a natural buffer that stays. But again, there might not be anything. We haven't been there. I don't know where. There might not be anything there.
Oh no, there's plenty of trees.
The area looks pretty wooded, but again,
wooded.
You know, a 20-foot buffer is not going to do it because that might not even be a tree. You know, the trees might be spaced out there. So I would look for you or your client to go out and take a look at this and say, all right, yeah, shape the area that you say, because look, there's a nice area in here. It still lets us. You must have an idea where the septics are going. You know, kind of. I'm sure you're talking to some people that want houses, may have an idea where they're going, what they're going to look like. So, you know, footprint wise. And because let's face it, by the time you cut those driveways and you start, you know, these houses get, you know, 6 feet out of the ground because of the water table. Trees their roots start getting buried, so the trees come down. So it'd just be nice to save something.
I'm sure the people who are going to be paying some good money for this are going to want some sort of privacy. And we have done some soils, and there's no water table, which is good. So that'll help with the septic systems. You know, all really good soil. So yeah, whatever, we can try and work through some sort of buffer easement, either along the back and in between the lots. Not opposed to that.
Okay.
Greg,
yeah,
are you
and I just want those setbacks fixed on that other plan. So right.
Yeah,
now,
definitely.
Just because I just don't want that on the record. That's not correct.
Yep.
And
Greg,
yeah.
Are you asking for the buffers to be shown on the plan?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Part of a special permit. Yeah,
but yes, exactly.
So do we want that on the A&R plan or on the other plan?
No,
a-
on the special permit plan.
Okay, yeah, as a surveyor purist, that's why I did a separate plan. I
Yeah,
feel
no,
like
well, you
A&R
have to,
should
our
only sell-
bylaw actually requires you to do a separate A and R.
Yeah. So,
And, so, yeah, no, not on the A and R.
okay, not a problem.
I'm a purist myself.
Surveyor purist, I don't like to see a lot of clutter on A&R plans. We like to see
Sure.
boundary lines and control points and,
Right,
research.
I understand that. Yeah, I understand. And so,
And,
Stephanie, I'm just curious, one other quick question. Do you have any concerns? And I know it's not these folks doing, but of this sort of nub of private road?
I'm sorry.
Do you, I mean, so you know how like basically the cul-de-sac on this thing, the existing cul-de-sac is private, everything else is public. Who knows why? This subdivision, I think, is 35 years old, but.
Yeah, it's got to be some reason behind it. Back in the 90s.
No, not really. I mean, they'll be I don't know if it hasn't been developed, right?
Oh, no,
Right,
it's
but
fully
I'm like,
built
is
up.
that,
It
I mean,
is built up.
the town
So
gets
is
paid, don't we get
town
paid?
plowing it?
We get paid for more road. So once this is, I mean, let's face it, the town, if the town goes on this road to pave it, they're gonna, I mean, to plow it, they're going through the cul-de-sac, they have to turn around that way.
The
Well, that's
cul-de-sac is
right.
there, the utilities are there, the town uses
they're
it,
already-
everyone uses it.
Yeah.
It's
So I'm
crazy.
like,
If I could finish, if they're already paving it and it's already constructed, the thing is, I don't think there's a benefit to the town taking it at this point.
No, we don't get more money from the state. I thought we got money from the
Well,
state.
you get a small amount more, but if the road, I mean, it would need to be brought up to standard, to the current standards. I think we looked into that, right? Because
I've never seen this.
I mean, I did. I think with the applicant, they're going to have to redo it anyway, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it seems
going
why
to
it's
have
in
to
front of us if we can
Correct that
eliminate
section.
an ambiguity, which is. but
Yeah.
whatever. Anyways, that's fine.
So, you know, that's a good
Your
point.
territory, so I was just curious.
That's a good point, Greg. And actually, I'll talk with Bob Carroll about that because my recollection is they have to reconstruct this roadway anyway, just because it's been sitting out there for so long. I don't think I'm confusing this with another road. And if they need to do that, then there wouldn't be, and again, if the town's already plowing it, it would make sense for it to be accepted.
I believe that was his intention, is once, this is all built, it would be brought up to town standards and we would ask that the rest of the road be accepted.
Right. It's been a number of months since we talked about that initially, and between then and this coming to us. So,
Peter, did I hear you before?
Oh, yeah, just, and just the frontage on, lot 2 on Allen Road, even though there's a wetland, between that, there could be access, I guess, with a bridge or something. That's the, is that the idea?
Well, the idea, as you remember,
Yeah.
remember my bylaw approach twice got shot down.
No, but I'm saying, but I mean, for the A&R, I mean, frontage usually provides access, but in this case, it is the idea that it could provide access.
Well, yeah, I mean, A&R doesn't differentiate between wetlands and it's just a property line, right?
It's frontage.
Well, yeah, we don't have to.
Board may
We
recall.
can read the A&R handbook, but yeah.
The board may recall that I provided advice on another project where the access was elusive along the frontage. Here, they're showing you where the access is coming from. It's coming off of Deer Meadow.
Right.
That other one where I felt the access was elusive on the A&R, they didn't show where the access was. They ended up where the access would be. They ended up coming back with a plan that I believe it was a common driveway.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like the point being that if that wetland were the Grand Canyon, that would be pretty illusory. But in this case, if someone really wanted to contest it, then that would be the worst case scenario for us. I'm not harping on it.
Yeah.
So is there gonna be so we'll see a new plan that, before we approve this, is that the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bob or Amos, do you guys have anything?
No, nothing to add.
Okay. So I guess we should just continue this to our next meeting, right, Stephanie?
Yep.
Someone would like to make that motion? Our next meeting is the 16th of February. Someone want to make that motion?
Motion to continue. Motion to continue. This is a 15 Deer Meadow and Allen Road special permit and A&R to the 16th.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing, let me check, there's a hand up, let me just make sure. Oh, it's gone, okay. All those in favor, Strange eye?
Shane, aye.
Stetson, I.
And am I?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Clem.
Thank you very much.
All right, next we have, hey, we did, yeah, we continued Sawmill, right? I didn't.
Yep.
Okay, next we have a design review for Lot 8, Goodspeed Estates. You guys looked at the plan, it seemed to
And
fine by me.
could the folks here for that discussion please raise their hands so I can make you panelists? I don't want to do that with Kathy. Oops, there we go. Promote to panelist. And could you unmute yourselves? And if you have video,
Hi there.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello,
Would you mind identifying yourselves for the record, guys, please?
Marissa Keach and John Kraus.
Welcome.
And I'm Ethan Ekstrom. I'm the designer for John and Marissa.
All right, welcome.
I'm going to share my screen, Greg.
Sure.
Okay, who's going to start?
I'll start. So first of all, thank you guys for having us.
Wait a minute, where did Greg? Hold on a minute. Did we lose Greg?
I'm right here.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I can't see you.
All right.
Good.
Good?
Go ahead, sir. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, great. So this is my wife, Marissa Keach. I'm John Kraus. We are hoping to start building or to be able to build on Lot 8 at Goodspeed Estates. What we've done, it was previously approved for 5 bedrooms. Our design is going to have 4 bedrooms, so we went down a little bit. And I know you guys I don't think impervious cover matters here, but we are doing a less impervious cover than what was previously approved. And the square footage is going to be around 2,700 square feet. If there's anything else, I'd be happy to answer it, or if I can't, Ethan will be there to help as well.
Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, just so the purview of this board in terms of your project really is it's a result of the special permit for the flexible development. And it really does a couple of things, make sure that the structure is within the scale intended for the subdivision as called out in the special permit, that it meets the height bylaws. It's not really, it says it's not to pick dictate architectural style or details. It really has to do with scale and siting of the house. So we appreciate you providing all that information. And so I guess any board members, do you have any questions or comments, or want to entertain a motion? That's fine as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the plan as presented if there are no other comments.
Second.
Hearing, sorry, brain fart. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor? Strange eye.
DeShane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Egon, aye.
Great. All right. So we wish you two luck, and I just want to say, I hope you don't think this was, a waste of time. We've looked at this ahead of time, and the designer we've used on the project has done a number of houses in here, so he's probably familiar with what we're looking for. So, but when you do what we ask, it goes nice and quick. So we appreciate it.
I love it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Good luck.
Enjoyed
Have a
it.
nice night.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Next up is bond reduction request, Lincoln Estates 2, Avery Lane. Stephanie, this is all you.
Yeah, I guess so,
I
because
couldn't find anything on this one.
couldn't find it. I can't, I guess there's nobody here for this one. I'm just double checking. Yeah, I don't see anyone from, so this is, let me just get to the road cost estimate. So this was the 2-lot subdivision off of Lincoln Street, Lincoln Estates, Bill Adams project. And they have gone through and they've completed, a large portion of the roadway work and utilities work. There's still work that needs to be done. There, the second lot, the road hasn't been finished, and some of the stormwater management structures are still needing to be completed. So he is looking for a reduction. Why do I keep getting that? I'm sorry. A reduction that leaves, I think he deposited around $60,000, and he wants a reduction to the amount that's remaining, which is around $56,150 with inflation.
Are you down with that?
Yes.
All right.
So it would be reduced around $10,000.
So it'd be releasing about $10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And this is a an insurance bond, so it's not cash.
Gotcha.
They're just reducing the amount
The
of
size of it. So what do they just send you paperwork showing that they reduced the size of the policy?
yes.
Cute.
Yeah.
Okay. Board members,
We don't have
questions,
to worry
comments?
about the lots being released. So is there an exact amount, or is it approximately $10,000 being released?
It's, let's see, let me go back. So the bond was $66,444, and the remaining amount needs to be $56,154. So it's around 10,270 something. We will calculate the difference exactly when we
Okay.
send the letter.
So a motion to recommend the amount recommended by the town planner, around $10,000.
Second,
I would ask that the board, rather than, and this is why I prefer you don't request to reduce it by a certain amount, but to reduce it such that there's still the
I think
56,165 remaining.
the difference in between the posted bond versus the actual. Right,
Yes, that's correct.
Stephanie? So the motion should be reduced by the difference in between the actual and the bonded, posted bond.
No, that I'm not quite understanding. So you want to reduce it,
The difference.
May we ask, is this spreadsheet available?
leaving $56,150.
On the bond, okay,
Yes.
okay. Peter, get the motion again.
Mm.
56,150.
I'm sorry, I was looking for the numbers. I kind of got a little lost there. Looking for the actual
56,150.
form that we're looking at.
Oh, I'm trying, I keep pressing the wrong button. I'm trying
Yeah,
to,
well, it's too small to see anyways, but,
I know, that's what I'm trying to increase for yours.
okay.
I have a big 56,150.
We rounded it up to 56,150 needs to remain on the bond.
All right. Almost, you can go, or you can make a motion on that.
Motion to reduce the bond to match the $56,150.
There a second? Was there a second and I didn't hear it?
Yep, I seconded.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Not a problem.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Strange eye.
Hussein, aye.
Stetson, I.
Kevin, Mike.
All right, it's unanimous. Thank you. Next up, we have ZBA request for comment, special permit 21-1 and 21-2 for 290 Turnpike Street.
Yeah,
These
so they were
deal
moving
with-
they were moving the
inside the
baseball to
building
the,
where they're
the
going,
other
yeah, the
side of the
baseball.
building, and they were adding basketball to the opposite side. And so I guess it would increase some of the traffic, but otherwise the same as it was before.
They're leasing what, 1,800 more square feet.
Right.
I think this is fine. I mean, this is
So it sounds like it's just about the whole building now is some sort of sports facility as
Yeah.
planned.
Yep. Good. We like when our buildings fill up. That's good for economic development in Easton.
That's what we want.
So someone want to get a motion to recommend?
Motion to recommend both special permits.
Second.
All those in favor? Strange eye.
Hussein,
Kevin,
aye.
Mike.
Stetson, I.
Anderson, I.
Oh, Chris is back.
Well, in sync there.
Look at that.
Took us a whole meeting, now we're in sync.
Yeah. Okay, meeting minutes.
We can really slow this down on you if you really want us to right
Yeah, wish you would.
now. I just keep looking for the agenda. That's my problem too. Using a different laptop.
But there was no link for the minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And
No, I think it might have been. That was my couch. That noise.
They were in the package that was sent.
did you see
Yeah,
that?
all the way to the bottom.
Yeah, I did scan them, and I wasn't at the meeting anyways.
Mr. Chair, the minutes are okay for me.
Is that a motion? Is that the most informal motion in history? Could you put that in motion form?
Motion to approve the minutes as
Nice.
written.
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor? Strange eye.
Hussein, aye.
Stetson, I.
Anderson, I.
All right. Okay, so we get down to my favorite part of the night, the CARES report. And I have a homework assignment for you gentlemen. And I get to say gentlemen, it's not just because Deb's not with us. And Stephanie is already working on this assignment with me, so she knows it. No. And I think I'll keep this in the rails properly, Stephanie, but if I don't, you know,
Yep.
you're usually not shy in scolding me, so yeah, but not scold me, but you know what I mean. So at our meeting next week, we are going to have Ed Walsh is going to come in. If you remember, Mr. Walsh is the property owner of 661 Depot Street, which was the rather large 4-building special permit project we approved almost 2 years ago. And we are going to be asked to consider revising our zoning there, changing our zoning there, revising, I think is the way to say it, for ways that I'll let for reasons I'll let Mr. Walsh get into when he's here. But I would just ask you guys, some of you were with the board, some of you weren't when we did it, but just the history, real briefly, the history of zoning of that stretch of 138 back 8 or 9 years ago, this board Peter will remember. I guess Peter, you and I are the only, and Deb, if she was here, we created the Queeset Commercial District with sub-districts A, B, and C. And this property is part of sub-district C, with an eye towards, mixed use and economic development and yada, yada. All the things you've heard me babble on endlessly about many times. And then this board, which certainly Robert was on it, and Chris probably was, we revised the zoning a bit for Mr. Walsh's project 2 years ago. Or maybe that was before you, I don't know, it might have been right before you guys came on.
I think that was like one of the first things that I saw.
So, anyway, so that, so I think if you could, leading up to a couple of meetings that Stephanie and I had with Ed over the past month or two, I've kind of gone back and I dug into parts of the master plan that had to do with economic development. I went back. I would just ask you to go back and just read our zoning, for the Queeset commercial districts, specifically sub-district C, just to refresh ourselves with it. Sometimes if you're not dealing with part of the bylaw, you go, oh wow, that's required, or we allow that, until you have something specific in front of you. And then also, and Stephanie, I don't mean to, maybe you could send a link. So the Economic Development Council, or maybe you can just remind.
Oh, yeah, yep.
The Economic Development Council, right after we did the zoning a few years back, they had received a grant. So they did sort of a zoning study, I guess you'd call it, of that area. And it gives lots of, there's a lot of data in there. Just talks
More
about
of it was an economic, like a marketing study,
Sure. Yeah.
marketing.
That's like the feasibility of different businesses and things like that, right?
Yeah, a lot of demographics, a lot of numbers. Yeah, just peruse. I mean, it's like a lot of studies. 60 pages, half of them are blank because someone's getting paid by the page, right? But then there's a lot of good meat on the bone, and read the summary at the end. And not that any of the stuff is it's all good to know, because next and if you have a chance to drive by that area, just look at that area. We're going to be asked to come up with some ideas, or we're going to be asked to maybe tweak some things there, and I think it would just be better addressed if we just kind of do a little refresher course on it. So if you could just have that on your brain for the next couple of weeks, because it's actually a really important it's a really important parcel for Easton. Important not only that it be developed, but important that it be developed along the lines of what all of our study and input and feedback from residents through the last 10 years is.
And we also rezoned the house, the apartment house next behind it too, right? So I mean, that was,
we did
rezoned it from residential to business, so that was
absolutely. So but anyway, so I want to be fair to Mr. Walsh, so I don't want to get too deep in it, but just do a little speed reading there if you don't mind, and then we'll have that on top of the agenda at our next meeting.
Whatever we can do for that
I'll email you
piece
folks.
of the town is in very bad shape. It looks very bad. So whatever we can do to make it better, it will only improve Easton significantly.
Mhm.
If it's done properly, I agree.
Yeah.
Yep. So, all right. Well, Stephanie, do you have anything else, or anybody else?
No, I'm just going. I just wanted to say, I think this document is pretty large because it's very image heavy. So I'm going to send you the link to the town webpage, and I'll direct you where you can pick it up, which plan it is that you're looking for, and you can just pick it right up from the web. And I'll send it.
Thank you. I need to leave, but thank you very much.
I'll send that right
I
after.
feel like I'm under his thumb. I feel like a bug. That was pretty funny. Anyways, all right. Take that. All right, guys. Well, thank you. Stephanie, thank you.
Oh, you're
Thanks a lot.
welcome.
Excuse me,
And,
Mr. Chair. And Stephanie, will you discuss zoning timeline or not?
No, I'm sorry, Suzanne. If you're not going to show your face, we can't.
Are you getting into that
I know that Greg wanted to talk about the zoning timeline.
next meeting?
Yeah.
I think Greg and I will go over it.
Yeah, I think you and I need to, yeah, we'll do it the next meeting. Yeah,
We'll check
that's,
yeah.
I thought zoning, I thought that was that's what I thought that was what I just talked about.
It was what you, and it's related to that, but yeah.
Well, let's,
Sounds good.
we'll talk on Wednesday on that, so.
We're
All
still
right,
working on
everybody.
old
Oh, who
zoning.
wants to send us home? Bring us home.
Motion
somebody.
to adjourn.
Second.
Peter, this is your first meeting from home in a while. I just noticed that.
Oh, yeah, I don't know, it's kind of, I had some swordfish going, so I didn't have time to get to
With
work.
that map behind you kind of remind me of Ted Knight from the old Mary Tyler Moore show.
Yeah, this is kind of like the kids' extra room that they needed one.
Yourself, Greg.
Yeah, it's here for them.
All right, everybody, thank you. Be well.
Thank you all.
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you.